That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, my dudes, this video is probably going to hurt to make because we got some sentimental players here. We are going to be going through, we are going to be looking at my most owned players in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Keep in mind, I've been playing Dynasty for a very long time, so some of these players I accumulated shares back in like 2016, but of course we still have them on our rosters today. And yeah, I think this is going to be a great video of just being completely transparent, talk about what I think about these guys, if you should be looking to buy, if you should be looking to sell, or maybe you're just like me and you're holding with an iron grip and you don't know what to do. But yeah, guys, before we get into it, please go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. And if you have yet to hear, we have one of the most exciting announcements that we've really ever made, if not the most exciting announcement ever on this channel. We have decided to partner with Underdog Fantasy for the 2021 fantasy football season. Now, I'm sure that the majority of y'all know what Underdog is by now, but it's a best ball platform where you can go through and essentially just draft like Sleeper, but it's for money. It's all on the site. And at the same time, Underdog takes a very low rake, which is the #1 thing that I look for when I'm deciding where to play fantasy. So if you're wanting to get in some extra drafts, if you're wanting to draft with me, because all our 2021 redraft drafts are going to be live streamed every single night from here on out until the start of the season. They're all going to be on Underdog, and I want to play with you. So please go to the description of the video. Sign up to Underdog with your first deposit. Use code FLOCK for the maximum deposit bonus. And please, guys, I want to play with you. This is the #1 way you can support the channel. And yeah, that should be it. Let's dive into it. And our first player, y'all know we have to bring him up. Y'all know if you've been a long-time Flock member, is going to be Rashaad Penny. Okay, so here's Rashaad Penny. This is why I said that this video was going to hurt, because obviously with Rashaad Penny, we did not accumulate all our shares this offseason, because if we did, I'd be sitting here, I'd be all happy, because obviously Rashaad Penny is at a lower price point than he's ever been. But no, to be completely honest, a lot of these shares we acquired after his rookie season back in 2018, when we thought, okay, well, Chris Carson had a really good year. Rashaad Penny was the first-round drafted running back. Going back and looking at his profile, I was convinced that Rashaad Penny was going to be the starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks, also with the flashes that we had his rookie season. And if we pull this up right now, I mean, I just want to highlight Rashaad Penny, and I'm going to say it right away. This is a player I think you should be targeting in Dynasty. I know I sound crazy. Maybe I'm just biased. I could easily be biased with every single player that I'm talking about on this list because I have them everywhere. And here with Rashaad Penny, you pull up this prospect profile and we go through and we look at the running back boxes that we look at for these prospects. Now, we have said this so many times before. I'm sure y'all are tired of hearing it by now, which we've also said so many times before. But the 4 things that we look for: team investment, we look for size, we look for speed, and we look for passing down capabilities. Now, the reason we look for that is obviously size. We need to see the ability to handle a 3-down usage. And there, what we look for is their BMI. Is their BMI over 30.0, which is the threshold that we have previously established based on our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, where I lay out all the research. I give you the numbers. 30.0 is what you need to hit. Well, Rashaad Penny, he crushes that. He's at 30.7. He stands at 5'11", 220 pounds. So prototypical size for a 3-down running back. Now, as speed, what you need to hit is a 4.60 based on what we have seen running backs have success with at the NFL level. And here, Rashaad Penny ran a 4.47. So also a great mark. Now, team investment, he was a first-round draft pick. Very rarely do you ever see that at all. And passing down capability, what you want is an 8.5% college target share, which also we laid out in that Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide available over there on Patreon. Or a quick side note, guys, I completely forgot to say this, but if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you not only get our 2021 draft guide, but at the same time, you actually get the 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide that we released this offseason. If you couldn't afford it over there on Patreon, I understand. I want to give you another option to get it because I think it's such a good tool, not only for this draft class, but really I think it's kind of evergreen content with all the historical research that we did going into that. So here, Rashaad Penny also crushes that mark with a 10.3% college target share. Rashaad Penny only 25 years old. So I understand, guys, that this is a player that really has never managed to stay healthy and earn a full-time role on an NFL offense. But the problem here is just Chris Carson has been too damn good, and I'm going to stand by that. And what sucks is whenever Chris Carson has been injured, which we've seen happen a lot with Carson, Rashaad Penny hasn't been healthy. So it's like, okay, well, he's playing behind an injury-prone running back, but at the same time, Rashaad Penny had that significant knee injury where he was never even able to take advantage. Now, we go back and we look at this profile that Rashaad Penny checks every single box, and we go through and look historically with what has happened with those running backs that profile to be Rashaad Penny. Rashaad Penny is literally the only bust within, I believe, like the last 8 years of running backs that have that profile, that meet those thresholds. Now, what this tells me is that Rashaad Penny most likely has the talent. I think the problem is with Penny is just the injury concerns, which is why earlier this offseason, I'm not going to lie, where we already had so much of Rashaad Penny, I went out there and I traded for more. I kind of leveraged what we had. I went, you know what? I'll give you a 3rd round pick for Rashaad Penny. I'll go give you Dwayne Eskridge. I don't care. Give me Penny. But now that he's actually having cleanups in his knee, at least he did about a month ago at this point, I'm a little more concerned about that knee injury than I previously was. So while I'm sitting here talking about how we own Rashaad Penny everywhere, to be completely honest, I have a hard time going out and advising you to do the same. So now, time to get emotional. Time to talk about my favorite Dynasty running back this offseason, Cam Akers. So with Cam Akers, we drafted him in so many spots last offseason in our Dynasty rookie drafts. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I loved Cam Akers in the rookie drafts. While I definitely identified him as a target, which is why we had him everywhere, it's not like I was drafting him at the 104, 105. It's more so I went through and I broke it down with the tiers and I went, okay, the 107 is the pick we need to be at, because at the 107, you guarantee yourself one of the top 2 quarterbacks and you guarantee yourself one of the top 5 running backs. And what we found is we found pretty much everybody passing on a Cam Akers, going J.K. Dobbins, going Clyde Edwards-Helaire, going with the DeAndre Swift, and I was fine with it. We were taking Cam Akers everywhere, so we acquired a lot of shares last year. I don't want to say on the cheap, but at least cheaper than what we did this offseason, because this offseason, instead of me going out and saying, you know, we have enough Cam Akers, I went, F it, Cam Akers, all in. I'm going to do everything that I can to get as much Cam Akers on our Dynasty rosters as possible. I ranked him as the running back 4 in Dynasty before the injury. So I'm sure if you were using our Dynasty rankings over on Patreon, I mean, you were drafting a ton of Cam Akers. And that's why this hurt so bad, because it didn't only hurt my entire Dynasty portfolio where we had almost 50% Cam Akers across all our leagues. At the same time, it hurt everybody else that was watching this channel. And I don't know if I should apologize for that, because obviously, I mean, I can't see what's going to happen. And I'm praying to God that Trey Lance manages to stay healthy, because I mean, Cam Akers, Trey Lance, they were our 2 guys this offseason that we got in mainly before the hype, and we were pumping as much as we could. And I'm telling you, when I break down those Dynasty rosters over there on Patreon, literally like every roster I get sent has Cam Akers and Trey Lance. It looks exactly like mine, to be completely honest. So in the case of Cam Akers, I mean, obviously it hurts. I can't even tell you what to do, and I know I just wasted 3 minutes of your time, so I apologize for that. I really want to hear your opinion of Cam Akers down in the comment section, because I get some trades sent to us over on Patreon that I'm like, oh my God, how did you get that done? I mean, people are trading like Cam Akers and a 3rd round pick for either DeAndre Swift or J.K. Dobbins. And if that would happen in any of the leagues that I had Cam Akers in, I would be ecstatic. I would be adding a rookie pick to go over and get a DeAndre Swift or a J.K. Dobbins from a Cam Akers. But in the Flock Patreon leagues, I don't know if these people are just taunting me, but they're offering me stuff like they're saying, Mason, I'll give you Mecole Hardman for Cam Akers. And I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? Are you trying to insult me? Of course, I'm never going to do that. So please let me know what y'all are thinking about with Akers, because, I mean, he's literally my Dynasty running back 4. I was all in, and obviously a torn Achilles just ruins everything. Now, our next player we're going to be talking about is going to be KJ Hamelr. So KJ Hamelr, someone that we've discussed a lot on this channel, but more so in the deep dive videos, not necessarily those blue chip players. And here with KJ Hamelr, I mean, I just think that he is a clear target for so many different reasons. Okay, so he was drafted in the middle of the 2nd round last year out of Penn State. And while, yes, this is a wide receiver that 100% profiles to be better for his NFL offense than for fantasy, given his speed and what he can do stretching the field, what I really like about KJ Hamelr is the fact that this was someone that was productive at Penn State at an extremely young age. He was actually drafted as the youngest wide receiver in the 2020 NFL draft class last year. He didn't get a lot of hype in the Dynasty community because he was dealing with an injury through the pre-draft process. But in the case of Hamelr, this is someone that I really think that he has that elite athletic profile. And yes, he's going to be very bad this upcoming year, given the fact that his quarterback is going to be the combination of Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, which of course does not bode well for KJ Hamelr. And he's also playing behind Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant. But I think based on the talent profile, based how young he was last year, and I mean, he was a lot closer to Jerry Jeudy in terms of his production than most people want to believe. KJ Hamelr, actually a very intriguing Dynasty ad. I think you can get him for pretty much free. I've been drafting him in a ton of best ball leagues where we are getting him at the very end of drafts, especially in Dynasty leagues. I mean, I'm seeing Denzel Mims go over KJ Hamelr, which is ridiculous because Hamelr played his entire rookie season at 21 years old. And at the same time, he was productive during stretches in a horrible situation. So KJ Hamelr, I mean, this isn't a sad story because I think that he's a player destined to only go up in Dynasty value. So yeah, love having him on the team. Now, Mecole Hardman, going to be our next wide receiver. Mecole Hardman, going to be completely honest, I have not bought in more so this offseason. I actually bought in a lot last offseason. And to be completely honest, guys, his price was higher last offseason. I most likely was sending out second and third round draft picks to bring in Mecole Hardman, where now I think just the second round pick, most people would prefer the pick over Hardman. So we definitely have lost out on some value. But what we are looking at with Mecole Hardman is a player that I actually think is a great Dynasty buy right now. Now, I haven't necessarily been able to go out there and send some offers, mainly because I have him in so many leagues already. I don't necessarily feel the need to. But we talked about this with Hardman before. Let's just briefly go over it. This is a wide receiver that was not supposed to break out right away at the NFL level. I mean, we remember he was recruited to be a defensive back at Georgia. He was a very raw player. And the reason the Kansas City Chiefs drafted him, obviously the Tyreek Hill situation was going on, but beyond that was because he was an elite level athlete that showed the traits to eventually develop into a productive wide receiver at the NFL level and be able to raise the overall efficiency of the Kansas City Chiefs offense with speed. So with Mecole Hardman, I understand he's been very disappointing through the first 2 years of his NFL career. But keep in mind, this is a player that's only 23 years old. Now he's stepping into a role where, I mean, you can see him getting a ton of snaps. You can see him getting a ton of targets. Now that Sammy Watkins is out of this offense permanently going over to Baltimore, they don't replace Sammy Watkins with anybody. Mecole Hardman definitely has the most team investment, being drafted in the second round in that 2019 draft class. This is someone with elite speed. And I mean, this Kansas City Chiefs offense is going to be very exciting. If you go through and you just imagine that they deploy out Mecole Hardman and Tyreek Hill almost every single snap. So two of the, if not the fastest wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, we pull up this 40 time. Mecole Hardman ran a 4.33 40-yard dash. That is right up there with some of the fastest players in the NFL. And you have Mahomes, who obviously we know is an insane deep threat. At the same time, you have Travis Kelce over the middle, so it's going to be very hard to just continuously drop two safeties back every single time. Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield. So this is the most potent offense in football, and I think you're getting their wide receiver 2 at a very clear discount. I know a lot of people want to say that Demarcus Robinson or Cornell Powell are the wide receivers that you want in Kansas City. I don't understand that whatsoever. I think it's clearly Mecole Hardman, and people have just given up too early. Guys, I mean, he was a defensive back not that long ago. Please cut him some slack. This is someone that is most likely going to surprise people going into year 3. And I know that his price has dipped down slightly and we lost out on value. I need to be completely transparent. It'd be very easy for me to come on a video and tell y'all that I bought Mecole Hardman on the lowest point. I bought him this offseason. But no, I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to say that we bought him for a slightly higher price last year in a ton of formats. And now I think if you did not make that mistake that I did, you can actually buy in at a cheaper price. And I think it's going to work out for all of us in the end. So now you knew you were not getting out of this video before hearing me talk about Juju Smith-Schuster. So with Juju, I said after last year that this is a wide receiver that I was done drafting. I didn't want anything else to do with him. But to be honest, I lied to you. I mean, in these drafts, I'm looking at this price of Juju and I'm going, this is ridiculous. This is a player that, yes, he did not live up to my own expectations last year. Yes, he was a major story in the media because of his quote-unquote off-the-field concerns, and I will agree with you. I think what he's doing on social media is stupid for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now it's very smart for his personal brand and what he can do after football. But I mean, I agree that I think it's becoming a problem if it's his priority before football, which I used to laugh at for people saying. I mean, people used to tell me that last offseason. I'd say, okay, boomer, and I'd just move on. I thought nothing of it. I told them that they were stupid. Now I think you actually have an argument to be made. But at the end of the day, Juju is still a wide receiver. That was a low-end wide receiver 2 in fantasy last year. He literally scored less than a 1 points per game difference than Terry McLaurin. And if you look at the age difference between the two wide receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster was actually a year younger than Terry McLaurin, scoring a difference of 1 points per game less. Is that not the craziest thing you have ever heard in your entire life? You're currently getting Juju Smith-Schuster as a wide receiver 4 in Dynasty, as someone in round 9, while you actually see a player like Terry McLaurin be drafted as a top 12 wide receiver in a lot of different formats. It makes no sense whatsoever. Juju going to be a free agent next offseason. Possibly he goes to a team like Miami. Possibly he goes to Kansas City. We don't know where he's going to be, but I think that he can escape this Ben Roethlisberger situation. And I think Juju Smith-Schuster is, I hate to say it, but a massive value in Dynasty right now. Now, thank you, my dudes. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope that you enjoyed the transparency of me saying exactly where I got stuff wrong, because a lot of these players have drastically dipped down in value since I invested into them. And of course, I'm going to be completely transparent about that. But please let me know your thoughts below, and let me know why Juju Smith-Schuster is such a good fantasy pick right now in Dynasty. And yeah, that's all I got for you, my dudes, and have a great day. We've gotten a ton of new members joining the flock. Thank you, Grind for Gold, Devin, Bungified, Brian, Brody, Victor, Chris, Grant, Trevor, and David. Thank you, my dudes.